Amy. Our next inductee was a Bulldog. He was an MP Bulldog and he was a Bulldog on the field. He was a 4-year letterman. He was a captain. He was an all-state player as a tackle. He was the team's best defensive player. He helped lead MP to the school's first region title. He went on to GMC where he was an all-conference performer. He was a tenacious defender who never ever quit on a play. And tonight, he earns his reward. Induction into the Forsyth-Monroe County Sports Hall of Fame class of 2026. Tommy Ivey has passed away, but he is represented tonight by his son, Chris Ivey. The next member of this class, Tommy Ivey. Chris, if you want to come on up.
So I'm Tommy Rosie Ivey's oldest son. I was asked to accept this award and speak on behalf of the family. Well, there's a lot of people there. You know, I don't normally speak in front of crowds, so you just have to bear with me. Funny story. Back in college, when I actually took a speech class, I remember the professor telling us that if you get nervous making a speech, just imagine everyone in the crowd in their underwear. As I look in the crowd, we had all this food. Some of y'all need to put your clothes on. I can. Isn't it so nice to have people in this community that think enough about each other to honor their very best? They're homegrown athletes. It's great. Hats off to the board, everyone who made this tonight possible. You guys really knocked it out of the park. This is top notch. Our county is so fortunate to have people involved and dedicated to celebrating and recognizing the achievements of the best athletes. Excellence in sports. That, I believe, is the reoccurring theme tonight. Now, there are many definitions of excellence, but in simple terms, excellence means greatness, the very best. And achieving excellence is not easy to do. You athletes being honored tonight, you know what I'm talking about. You're being recognized as the very best. You put in the hard work, the long hours, the practice, preparation, studying film, studying your opponents, as well as perfecting your technique. All these efforts paved the way for your success on the field when it mattered the most. Now, I obviously wasn't around back when Dad put in the work and actually earned this award, but I'm sure his path was essentially the same as yours. And I must admit, I don't know all his stats and highlights other than from what I've read and what stories that people have told me. You see, Dad was extremely humble. He never really talked about football. But I do know he was always a leading tackler. He had several games where he had multiple interceptions, pick sixes, fumble recoveries, sacks, all while playing both sides of the ball. Rosie was a tough guy raised in rural Monroe County. He played in the 50s and 60s where there were no water breaks. There was no taking your helmet off during practice for the games. I'll tell you what, I'm just trying to keep my thoughts through here. Thinking back many years ago, there we go. When I was a freshman in high school, I went to my first football camp at Mary Persons. I remember telling Dad how hard we had it. I told him Coach Pitts made us get up like way before daylight and run. It was really hot. They made us do a drill called ABCs, and it was always in the muddiest part of the practice field. I said, they made us drink salt water. That was in the morning, and they may have given us like 1 or 2 water breaks in the evening. Well, he laughed, and he said, when he played, Coach Pitts loaded them all up in a bus and sent them down to Moultrie, Georgia for their summer football. They had to sleep in army barracks, and of course, there was no air conditioning. And they didn't have any water breaks. They were given salt fields. Nice. For those of you who didn't know him, a couple of Rosie's attributes that helped him excel in football were brute strength and aggression. I can tell you this, even later in life, he was a strong man. Me and my brother Jay back there, we never tried it. Ever. Mom told me a story, and I've got a bunch of stories about his strength, but Mom told me a story about, back in the day, Monroe County had a bunch of wooden bridges. And they had these horizontal boards that you had to stay on. You keep the tires on. If you got them off, got off the strut, you get your tires get stuck. Well, apparently back in the day, Dad was riding out in the woods and went over one of those bridges, and the tire went up the tree. Well, there's no cell phones, not in the middle of nowhere. What did he do? He got out and he picked that full-size pickup truck and put it back on. It was awesome. You shook his hand and you knew he had grips on it. So I've had people tell me this story all the time. So Dad, he played Mary Persons. He was offered a scholarship to Clemson, but he chose to stay close to home. He played at George Military College. He played there, had a good career. And then he went, Vietnam hit, he went to the National Guard. And so he went to the National Guard as a cook. He loved to cook. Well, they told me the story where there's a guy that didn't really know him. He was kind of messing with him about being a cook. And they said, hey, Tommy. They throw him an apple and said, show him the trick. He'd catch it and he'd squish it in applesauce. It was strong. From what I told Dad, he liked to hit people and hit them hard. He put several opponents in the hospital during all of his time at Mary Persons and Gordon Military College. I tell you what, I didn't get any of those attributes. Hell, I didn't even inherit his full head of hair. But he coached. I played ball, and he was always one of the coaches. And he'd say, hey, you always give 110% effort, and you have zero hesitation. And his one saying was, you screw up, you better do it full speed. So I'm going to wrap it up. I just want to congratulate the athletes who are being honored tonight. You and your families should be so proud, and I know you are. And on behalf of the family, I want to thank the board for recognizing my dad. It's been a real honor speaking with you all tonight. Thank you.